Are you tired of multipathing way too low to the ground and getting hit by random trees in your way? Well, I can help with that. I can teach you how to correctly notch. If you don't know what notching is, it's basically just a method for you to stop radars from tracking you and therefore radar missiles can't hit you. But first, we have to learn how radar missiles actually work. In this case, I'm going to launch an AIM-120 Fox 3 at this guy. Since I am within his radar range, he will automatically start tracking the enemy. Since it is looking down at the enemy, it is going to be using Search Pulse Doppler mode. This mode allows radars to track enemies and things that are moving, but it stops things that are not moving to you from appearing on your radar screen. According to the missile's radar, this Eurofighter is actively moving, so it'll track him and slam right into him. Easy, right? Well, we can use that Pulse Doppler effect to our advantage. So since Pulse Doppler radars work by seeing things that are moving, the first step is to turn 90 degrees to the lock. So according to your radar in that case, it appears that you're not moving. Since you're not actively moving in any way the radar can see, it's going to automatically switch into a search radar mode. Once it switches into the search radar mode, it becomes susceptible to chaff. That blue dot is the chaff, and that green column is a radar lock. You can see it's actively locking the chaff instead of me. Now this gets a lot more complicated once you start doing this in real matches because not all angles are 90 degrees. When you get into really close combat situations, the angle of the seeker is what you have to notch, so you're going to have to go over 90 degrees. The main takeaway here is you have to turn 90 degrees to the thing that's actively tracking you. In this case, I had to turn 90 degrees from the actual missile seeker. Like for example with this missile seeker, I almost had to go 180 degrees from the plane that launched it. Furthermore, when you're in actual matches, you probably don't have enough time to always be notching. So in this case, it might be appropriate just to chaff dump. Sometimes it works, the majority of the time it won't, but it'll save your life sometimes. When you're notching, there's a really important mechanic that you also have to know about, and it's IOG guidance. This is essentially the missile just guiding to its last known input. This usually happens when you notch, and to avoid it, all you have to do is kind of pull out of the way. Sometimes it is unavoidable, but this is what happens if you don't pull out of the way. But don't worry, I do have an example where I managed to pull out of the IOG. Basically just pull more G's than the missile is while maintaining a notch. If you don't maintain a notch, you run the risk of the missile relocking. Learning how to notch correctly is very hard and takes time, and you can't rely on notching 24/7 because in some cases it's just impossible. Multipathing is still reliable as always.